Hello, my name is Peregrine. Welcome to my studio and the second part of the analysis of the painting behind me. Today I'm going to talk about technique and inspiration. I've deliberately cut some areas of this canvas a little bit looser in brushstroke, in particularly the area in the foreground here where you've got the desert section which has got more broken brushstrokes, trying to keep the mountains also a little bit more atmospheric with some softer modelling, and the sky, the cloud area, a little bit more of a painterly texture, not too photorealistic. This gives the piece some degree of vitality, but without losing clarity. You probably picked up whilst looking at this, there's definitely a mid-century American influence, Americana, which is basically, I find so appealing. If you look at maybe perhaps 1950s and 1960s travel posters, you've also got the idea of the road trip mythology, vintage oil company advertising, and American Southwest cinema, thinking perhaps here of early road movies like Easy Rider from 1969, you know, the one with Dennis Hopper, Peter Fonda, and they have an opening sequence with one of them throwing away the watch onto the ground before they start their adventure, getting rid of schedules and conformity, and off they go. Also channeling a little bit of Norman Rockwell for his narrative clarity, but without the overt moral messaging. Definitely a nod also to Edward Hopper, his iconic 1940 painting called Gas Station, which hangs in the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Go and see it if you're there, it's an amazing picture. Perhaps we can now look at the colours. Colours are very potent and powerful in a picture. We have warm desert versus cool sky. The palette is organised around a complementary tension of warm ochres, sand tones, red car, red heels, balanced by cool tones of sky and mountains. And this produces a chromatic equilibrium whilst keeping the red convertible as the emotional accent in the piece. Red is a really powerful motif, and red appears in critical places in this scene. The car as a mode of transport, the woman's heels here, the accent in her scarf, and the gas pump, and the man's case also. It ties everything visually, connecting her to the vehicle, the idea of refueling, possibly the man who is, by contrast, wearing earth-toned colours, camouflaged almost into the background desert. These colours could imply possibly that she belongs to civilization and yet also shares a connection with the man through the colour of the suitcase. He also belongs to the terrain, so that's the contrast. There is, let's look at the narrative observations now. We talked last time about the layered ambiguity in the previous video, but let's look now at the gas station, which in narrative art can often symbolize transition, refueling before a departure, a liminal space occupying a position at or on the boundary or on both sides of a threshold, perhaps between the past, the present, and the future. The gas stations are never actually destinations in their own right. This scene holds a subtle tension, a directional tension. The road pulls us forward, as we discussed also in the last video. Yet the figures remain static. Possibly, do we feel a sense of inevitability of departure, the uncertainty of the destination? Who knows? The possibility that they may not travel together. It is a painting about choice rather than action. Within a broader context, the scene perhaps fits in with an ongoing exploration of the idea of travel as a metaphor. Nostalgia, but without the irony. Dramatic, romantic possibilities suspended in daylight. A narrative rather than a pause rather than a climax. We are using mid-century aesthetics to explore modern emotional ambiguity. Can we think of possible titles for this? What do you think? Perhaps that might reflect this, that could convey this message in one single phrase. Perhaps something like, for example, High Noon Interlude, or Fuel for the Journey, or Standby in the Desert. Anyway, my final observation is perhaps that it might make this painting, what is it that makes it compelling? Nothing dramatic is actually happening, yet everything feels contingent. I'm trying to present a scene that appears simple, two travellers by the roadside, but it embeds a romantic tension, a symbolic geography, nostalgia for mythic era of open roads, and yet quiet anxiety of decision. What do you think? I'd love to know your thoughts. I hope you've enjoyed the analysis. Thank you.